The Constitution of the United People of the Republic of America. Preamble. We, the United People of the Republic of America, formerly known as the United States, in order to form a more perfect union among us, to establish justice for each person equally, regardless of age, race, country of origin, gender, economic status, religion, or sexual orientation, to defend each person's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness according to each individual's desire of happiness, to promote the general welfare of each person according to each person's individual needs, to protect each person's right to vote for those who enact the laws that govern them, and protect their rights, to guarantee and promote domestic and foreign tranquility, and finally, to secure and defend these liberties for each of us, and for our posterity, and for any person who exists among us, and for any person who will ever exist among us, we, the people, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United People of the Republic of America as the principles and standards upon which we stand united. Accordingly, we stand united in our resolve to establish this Constitution as one nation, one republic undivided by states and their separate boundaries. We stand united in the conviction that all people are created equal and possess equal unalienable rights. We stand united in the conviction that, in order to protect these rights, a government cannot be divided into separate states of authority, but must remain one nation, indivisible. We stand united in the conviction that our former constitution was created and established at a different time, under different circumstances, with different intents and purposes that are no longer relevant, in securing liberty and justice for all people equally. Whereas a constitution is a body of fundamental principles and established standards according to which a united group of people is to be governed, we stand united and give our honor and trust and submit our lives to this, the Constitution of the United People of the Republic of America. Article 1, the Legislative Branch. Section 1, the Legislature. 1.1a. Dissolution of states' rights and their division. No district or state shall possess sovereignty or legislative powers outside of those granted by the people of the Republic in this Constitution. 1.1b. Congressional power to establish laws, term limits for the legislative branch. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress elected every 4 years by the people, and limited to 2 terms each within any period of 20 consecutive years. 1.1c. Requirement to protect Earth. Legislative powers shall be restricted to acts and procedures and the establishment of law that support the wants and needs of the people proportionate to the support of the natural laws of Earth and its environs. 1.1d. Houses of Congress. Congress shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. 1.1e. Equality of Congress. Congress shall not choose seats nor designate officers. There shall be no classes, committees, chairpersons, or seats, of any kind, in Congress. Each member of Congress shall be equal to all other members, regardless of tenure, age, race, gender, economic status, religion, or sexual orientation. 1.1f. Consensus of unanimity. Without a consensus of unanimity among its elected members, Congress shall pass no law incumbent on the people outside of the laws established by this Constitution. There shall be no law without the unanimous consenting vote of each member of Congress, whether physically present at the time of the vote or not. Congress shall have the option of voting by proxy or electronically, as it may determine from time to time, is in the best interest of any particular member, or the people of the Republic. 1.1g. Congressional compensation. Members of Congress shall receive for their services a compensation as described in Section 7 of this article. Besides that salary, and within the period of their elected term, prior to that period within 5 years, and subsequent to that period within 10 years, no member of Congress or anyone associated with a member of Congress shall receive from the Republic, or from any of its people, or from any domestic entity of any kind, or from any foreign person or entity of any kind, any present, donation, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever. 1.1h. Congressional conflict of interest. No congressional representative shall, during the time for which that representative is elected, or within 10 years from the end of the period for which that member was elected, be appointed to any civil office under the authority or compensation of the republic which was created, or the emoluments whereof which were increased, during such time, and no person holding any civil office under, or within the republic, shall be a member of either house during such civil officer's continuance in authority and office. 1.1 I. Age and residency requirements for congressional representatives. No person shall be a representative 1. Who has not attained the age of 35 years, and 2. Who has not physically resided in a specified district for at least 5 years. 1.1 J. Congressional replacement outside of regular elections. When vacancies occur in the representation of any districts due to death, disability, impeachment, or removal from office for any reasons determined by Congress according to its authority as this Constitution allows, Congress shall prescribe the time, place, manner, and approve and support the cost of a new election by the previously registered voters in the district where the vacancy occurs. 1.1 K. Congressional immunity from civil suits and harassment. Congressional representatives shall in all cases except treason, felony, breach of the peace, or violation of any of this Constitution's articles, or those of a personal nature involving domestic issues be privileged from legal process service, or arrest during their attendance at the session of their respective houses, and in going to, and returning from the same, and for any speech or debate in either house, they shall not be questioned in any other place by any other person or authority outside of those appointed by this Constitution. 1.1 L. Congressional recognition of any person s. No title of nobility shall be granted to any person, for any reason, by the Congress, nor shall any person holding any office of profit or trust under this Constitution, accept of any present, emolument, office, or title, of any kind whatsoever, from any king, prince, or officer of any foreign state. 1.1 M. Congressional website for complete transparency. Congress shall maintain an official website. Such website shall provide full transparency of all congressional actions and activities, except those that might impede or affect national security as Congress may determine and prescribe with the concurrence of the President. Such website shall be updated on a daily basis and kept current within 24 hours of the preceding day. Such website shall be clear and understandable to the majority of the people. 1.1 N. Congressional oath. Before members of Congress assume the execution of their office, each shall take the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear, or affirm, that I will faithfully serve the people of the Republic of America, and I will to the best of my ability, preserve, protect and defend the Constitution of this Republic. Section 2. Congressional Districts. 1.2 A. Definition of congressional voting districts. Districts within the Republic shall be determined according to the total number of registered voters, divided by 50 districts. Congressional district boundaries shall be redefined every 4 years by automatic digital boundary definitions determined after the people have registered to vote during each 4-year term. Digital boundary definitions shall be defined by the number of registered voters and concomitant with their physical proximity according to Article V of this Constitution. 1.2 B. District titles. Each district may preserve the title of its former state, a combination of all, or choose another title by majority election of its registered voters. Section 3. The House. 1.3 A. Number of representatives. The House of Representatives of the Republic shall be composed of 500 representatives, 10 from each district, and each representative shall have 1 vote. 1.3 B. Power of impeachment. The House shall retain the power of impeachment, but no party shall be impeached without the concurrence of unanimity of the House as prescribed in Section 1 F of this article. Section 4. The Senate. 1.4 A. Number of senators. The Senate of the Republic shall be composed of 100 senators, 2 from each district, and each senator shall have one vote. 1.4b. Power to try impeachments. The Senate shall retain the power to try all impeachments, whether of a member of Congress, or of the President of the Republic, or of any member of the judicial branch. The Senate shall receive and judge the evidence and findings of impeachment from the House of Representatives at trial. No impeached party shall be formally adjudged and convicted without the concurrence of unanimity of the Senate as prescribed in Section 1(f) of this article. 1.4c. Punishment of impeachment and conviction. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than reprimand and censure by the Senate. It shall not include removal from office. The impeached party shall be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment, according to the law. 1.4d. Removal from office of the impeached. Upon impeachment and conviction by judicial trial, the people of the convicted member's district shall hold the exclusive power to elect such member's replacement during a legally convened election according to the power of Congress to call such election. The majority vote of the people of the Republic during a legally held election shall be the only power that can replace any member, president, or judicial officer in the event of impeachment by Congress and conviction by judicial trial. Section 5. Elections. 1.5a. Establishment of elections. Pursuant to Article V of this Constitution, Congress shall oversee and establish the proceedings, laws, the times, places, manner, and pay the costs of registering to vote, and of the general elections. Section 6. Rules of Proceedings and Adjournment. 1.6a. Congressional Self-Rule. Each house shall determine the rules of its proceedings and adjournments, given that such rules are restricted to, and comply with the authorities and powers granted by the articles of this Constitution. Section 7. Congressional Assembly and Compensation. 1.7a. Full-time employment expectations. Congress shall be in session on a full-time basis in accordance with the same laws that determine the weekly and hourly minimums and maximums for the people of the Republic, and according to the term limits established by this Constitution. 1.7b. Congressional pay. Congress shall be paid an annual salary at a rate of 2 times that of the average annual income of the people of the Republic, and paid out of the Treasury of the Republic. 1.7c. Congressional overtime compensation. Only at times of national emergencies shall Congress be approved for overtime hours. Congress shall be paid an overtime hourly wage, in addition to their annual salary, commensurate with the average hourly overtime wage of the people of the Republic. 1.7d. Congressional vacation and sick leave. Congress shall be allowed 30 days a year of paid vacation, and shall be provided the same amount of personal and sick leave that is granted to every person under the Republic by law prescribed by Congress. 1.7e. Congressional pensions. No member of Congress shall receive a pension of any kind, at any time, for service in the Congress, unless the law equally provides such pension, of any kind, to all people of the Republic. Section 8. Revenue bills, legislative process, veto power. 1.8a. Raising revenue by taxation. All legislative bills for raising revenue for the Treasury of the Republic, to pay for the debts of the Republic, shall comply with and support the tax code described in Section 9a, below. Congress shall not raise revenue by any other means. 1.8b. Veto power over the consensus of unanimity. No other branch of government shall possess veto power over any bill passed into law by the consensus of unanimity of Congress. Section 9. Powers of Congress. 1.9a. Tax Code. To pay the debts and constitutional obligations under Article 4th, and for the common defense and general welfare of the Republic, Congress shall be limited to a consumption-based tax rate in its power, To establish laws that lay and collect taxes not to exceed 20% and based on the annual gross domestic product of the prior year apply to the following economic algorithm. GS*100, GDP, GS, where GDP equals gross domestic product and GS equals government spending. 1.9, B. Creating electronic currency, the elimination of a cash-based economy. To fund the difference between the tax revenue and the Republic's debts, Congress shall have the power to issue currency, fix the standard, measures, and regulate the value thereof, likewise that of any foreign currency in relation to American currency. All currency, its standards and measures, shall be of an electronic nature. Congress shall not have the power to coin, or print money of any type. All financial transactions between the people of the Republic, or between them, and any foreign entity, shall be of an electronic nature. 1.9, C. Power to regulate inflation on human basic necessities. To regulate the inflation on the cost of the goods and services, provided under Article 4, not to exceed 1.5% per annum. Congress shall have no power to regulate the inflation on any other goods or services. 1.9, D. Power to support infrastructure. To establish, support, and maintain a modern and sound infrastructure of the Republic according to the needs and wants of its people. 1.9, E. Power to regulate copyrights, patents, and trademarks. To promote the progress of science and useful arts, by securing for limited times to authors and inventors, the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries. 1.9, F. Power to declare war. To declare war, and call for the military to execute the laws of the Republic, and protect this Constitution and its authorities from any insurrections or invasion, both domestic and foreign, and regulate the means of war to the discipline and adherence to humane principles, if such principles are possible. 1.9, G. Power to support the military. To raise and support the four branches of the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps, and to assign their particular duties, and establish their protocols and proceedings. Congress shall have no power to appoint, or command any branch of the military, for any reason. To provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the military, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the Republic. Congress shall cede to the President the appointment of the officers, and the authority of training the military according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. 1.9, H. Power to establish one federal law enforcement agency. To raise and support a single federal law enforcement agency whose jurisdiction shall not extend beyond the borders of the Republic, which border includes any of its holdings as acquired in compliance with Article I, Section 9, I, and to assign their particular duties, and establish their protocols and proceedings. To give this agency the necessary authorities and rights to protect and execute the laws of the Republic and this Constitution. To determine a just punishment for any citizen of the Republic, or for any foreign person who violates any law within the boundaries of the Republic. Congress shall pass no law granting immunity from punishment to any person, for any reason, at any time. 1.9, I. Power to allow other nations to become part of the Republic of America. To extend the boundaries of the Republic and the protection of its laws to any foreign nation or entity, whose people, by the majority of their individual votes, desire to become part of the Republic. Any application to become part of the Republic must be made to Congress by the voice of the majority of that foreign people through legal and congressionally verified election results, to support the implementation of American law in any part of the world where the Republic holds authority and jurisdiction by the will of the people of that area. 1.9, J. Power to create laws to protect the Constitution. To make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the Republic, or in any department or officer thereof. 1.9, K. Power to amend the Constitution. To amend this Constitution by the consensus of unanimity. Section 10, Limits on Congress. Congress shall be limited in its powers according to the provisions and articles described in this Constitution. Congress shall not have the power to supersede, at any time, the powers and authorities granted to it by this Constitution. Article 2, the Executive Branch. Section 1, the President. 2.1 a. Election and term limits for Executive Branch. The executive power shall be vested in a President of the Republic of America. A person shall hold the office of President for a term of 4 years. There shall be no term limits on the office of President. Such person shall select a Vice President during the initial campaign for this office. Thereafter, at any time, at the President's own discretion, the President may appoint a different Vice President. 2.1 b. Election by majority of popular vote. The President shall be elected, or re-elected every 4 years by the majority vote of the legally registered voters. 2.1 c. Executive Office Citizenship Requirements. No person, except a constitutionally designated citizen of the Republic of America, and who has been a citizen for at least 20 years, shall be eligible for the office of President. Neither shall any person be eligible for that office who shall not have attained to the age of 40 years. 2.1 d. Executive Incapacitation. In case of the removal of the President from office, or of that person's death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of such office, the same shall devolve on the Vice President the duties of the office of President. Congress may, by law, provide for any case of removal, both of the President and Vice President, declaring what officer shall then act as President, and such officer shall act accordingly, until the disability is removed, or until a new President is elected. Congress shall ensure that the elections of the President's replacement are held within 6 months of the date of the President's removal or permanent disability. 2.1 e. Executive Compensation. The President shall receive, for that person's services, a compensation equal to twice the amount allowed by law for members of Congress, which shall not be diminished during the period for which that person has been elected, and, for each period of 4 years for which that person is re-elected as President, that person shall receive a 25% increase for each subsequent 4-year term. The President shall not receive within any period, any other emolument, of any kind, from any person or entity, domestic or foreign. Neither the President nor the Vice President shall receive a pension of any kind, at any time, for their public service. 2.1 f. Presidential Oath of Office. Before a person enters on the execution of the office of the President, that person and that person's elected Vice President shall take the following oath or affirmation: I do solemnly swear, or affirm, that I will faithfully execute the office of President, Vice President, of the Republic, and will to the best of my ability, preserve, protect and defend the Constitution of the Republic of America. Section 2, Powers of the President. 2.2 a. Supreme Commander of the Military and Law Enforcement. To hold the office of Commander-in-Chief of the Militia of the Republic and the same office of the Federal Law Enforcement Agency, as adopted under Article 4, Section 4, b, of this Constitution. To appoint and remove any officers of the militia or federal law enforcement agency, to respond to any form of aggression or oppression, both foreign and domestic, against the Republic, its laws, or any of its people, whenever and wherever they may be located throughout the earth. 2.2 b. Executive power to enforce constitutional law. To appoint and remove any officers of the government of the Republic, except those otherwise designated by this Constitution, and to assign their particular duties, and establish their protocols and proceedings, in support of the laws of this Constitution. 2.2 c. Power to appoint executive representatives for foreign service. To appoint foreign ambassadors, consuls, and other foreign ministers, whose appointments are in the best interests of the Republic as determined by the President, that are not otherwise provided for in this Constitution. 2.2 d. Restricted power of legislative and judicial branches. Restricted veto power. The President shall have no power to appoint any person to an office associated with the legislative and judicial branches described in this Constitution. The President shall have no power over Congress, except in the enforcement of the laws of this Constitution. The President shall have no veto power of any law adopted by Congress in accordance with the laws of this Constitution. 2.2 e. Power to establish foreign policy. To recommend to Congress the adoption of foreign treaties, agreements, and resolutions. However, the President shall have no power to ratify these agreements as law, to enter into temporary foreign treaties, agreements, and resolutions, which the President deems beneficial to the Republic, for a period of 6 months, or until such time as Congress ratifies or rejects any of these actions, according to the powers given to Congress by this Constitution. If Congress does not approve or reject the executive temporary action before the end of the 6-month period, the action shall become law. Congress shall retain the right to rescind or amend any such law at any time. 2.2 f. Power to pardon. To grant reprieves and pardons for offenses committed against any law of the Republic or any of its people. Section 3. Executive relationship with Congress. Executive transparency. 2.3 a. Executive congressional report. The President shall give to the people, biannually, information on the state of the Republic, and any information on temporary executive foreign actions enacted. 2.3 b. Executive transparency. The President shall maintain an executive website upon which shall be recorded a journal of executive proceedings, and from time to time publish the same consistent with congressional transparency as described in Article I, Section 1, m, excepting such parts as may, in the President's judgment, require secrecy in the interest of the Republic's security. Section 4, disqualification. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers appointed by executive order, shall be removed from office upon that person's conviction of treason, bribery, or for any other felony crime or any action, or inaction, that violates the laws and provisions for the people established by this Constitution. Article 3, the Judicial Branch. Section 1, Court Establishment and its Compensation. 3.1 a. Establishment of the courts. The judicial power of the Republic shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. 3.1 b. Election of judges. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall be elected by the majority of registered voters every 4 years during regular elections. 3.1 c. Removal of judges outside of elections. Judges shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall be impeached or removed by the Supreme Court, or any court, that the Supreme Court appoints to try the impeached. 3.1 d. Compensation of judges. Judges shall, at stated times, receive for their services a compensation equal to that of the Congress. Supreme Court judges, and any lower judges which Congress shall deem appropriate and necessary, shall receive a 10% increase during each term of every election thereafter. Judges' compensation shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2, Offices of the Court. 3.2 a. Court to appoint officers. All officers of the court, including bailiffs, clerks, commissioners, lawyers, and any such who serve the court, shall be appointed or removed by the different courts in which they serve. The courts shall establish the rules and procedures by which each shall practice, providing that these rules conform to the laws of this Constitution. 3.2 b. Limits on compensation for officers of the court. No officer of the court, or those who serve in any other capacity in the court, at any time, shall receive for that person's compensation more than 10 times the hourly rate of the legal minimum wage of the people of the Republic that is set in law by the Congress. Section 3, Judicial Power. 3.2 a. Judicial power to interpret law. Judicial power shall extend to all cases, controversies, and disagreements in law and equity arising under the laws of this Constitution and the laws established by the Congress of the Republic. Judicial power shall not extend to any law established outside of these stated parameters, unless such powers to establish such laws are specifically extended to any court by Congress. 3.2b. Protection of due process of law. All trials, procedures, and rules of any court shall uphold the intent and purpose of Article 4, Section 9, due process of law, of this Constitution, or as Congress may, by law, direct. 3.2c. Supreme Court consensus of unanimity. The Supreme Court shall, in all cases, render decisions in unanimity. Section 4, judging election results. The Supreme Court shall appoint, remove, and support such persons and proceedings as needed to judge the election results of all regular elections, as provided by this Constitution. Article 4, Inalienable Human Rights. Section 1, powers to enforce this article. 4.1a. Enforcement. The provisions of this article shall be applied and enforced by executive orders, and under the direction of the President of the Republic. 4.1b. Congressional limitations. Congress shall have no power, in any way, to amend or restrain this article. The President shall enact and appoint the commissions, their commissioners, and their proceedings to fulfill and comply with the provisions of this article. 4.1c. Presidential duties. The President shall 1. Demand from Congress the means to fulfill the provisions of this article. 2. Provide a yearly budget to Congress specifically addressing the monetary means needed to fulfill this article. 3. Provide the protection of law enforcement and the military to enforce this article. 4.1d. Funding. The validity of the public debt of the Republic incurred in providing the provisions of this article shall not be questioned. No person shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in the execution of the provisions of this article. All such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void to the people. Congress shall retain the power to produce and incorporate any legal means of tender required to fulfill the provisions of this article. Section 2, right to the basic, physical and emotional necessities of life. 4.2a. Basic necessities. Each person, from the moment of that person's birth to the moment of that person's death, shall be provided with the following basic necessities of life free from charge or debt. 1. Nutritious food. 2. Comprehensive healthcare, including mental care. 3. Safe and secure housing and utilities. 4. Basic clothing. 5. Public education from an elementary level up to, and including 4 years at any accredited university. 4.2b. Past debt for basic necessities. Upon adoption of this Constitution, all obligations and debts, of any kind, acquired by the people, in obtaining their rights outlined in this article shall be unconditionally forgiven. Congress shall issue fair compensatory repayment to the persons or entities that can prove a legal claim against any such person so indebted. Section 3, right to citizenship and immigration. 4.3a. Legal citizenship. Each person shall be considered a legal citizen of the Republic and enjoy the equal rights and protections granted by this Constitution upon proof of that person's birth that occurred, at any time, within the internationally accepted borders of the Republic or any of its holdings as acquired in compliance with Article I, Section 9, I, or upon proof of gainful employment, of any legal kind in any of the borders of the Republic, for a period of at least 12 consecutive months. 4.3b. Immigrant rights and responsibilities. No person, regardless of age, race, country of origin, gender, economic status, religion, or sexual orientation, shall be prohibited from entering the borders of the Republic in search of gainful employment, and with the desire to secure the rights allowed and protected under this Constitution. Until legal citizenship is granted, all such persons entering the Republic shall be required to carry a Republic-issued visa, which shall include genetic identification registration as established by Congress. Such persons shall carry the visa on his or her person at all times, while traveling throughout the Republic. 4.3c. Provisions of citizenship. A person who is not a legal citizen, and who enters this Republic according to subsection B of this section, shall be allowed the opportunity to find employment and meet the provisions of this section within a 1-year time limit. All persons granted a temporary visa shall be guaranteed all of the constitutional rights afforded to any legal citizen for a 1-year period. If, at the end of 1 year, that person does not find legal and gainful employment, that person shall be provided a safe, secure and free passage back to the country of that person's origin. A person who fails to secure employment within 1 year, and who returns to the country of that person's origin, shall not be allowed to reapply for a temporary visa for a period of 5 consecutive years, unless upon returning to that person's country, that person's life is endangered or threatened in any way, by any means. Section 4. Right to protection by law enforcement agencies and the armed forces. 4.4a. Number of law enforcement officers per population. There shall be 100 law enforcement officers assigned to each 10,000 persons in areas with a population over 1 million persons, 75 assigned to each 10,000 persons in areas with a population over 500,000 persons, 50 assigned to each 10,000 persons in areas with a population over 250,000 persons, 25 assigned to each 10,000 persons in areas with a population at or under 100,000 persons. 4.4b. 1 law enforcement agency. There shall be 1 law enforcement agency empowered throughout the Republic. Upon adoption of this Constitution, this agency shall incorporate and assimilate into its single force and supervision the current Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Central Intelligence Agency, Homeland Security, the Secret Service, state, local, and any other branch of law enforcement that exists, and was established outside of the single entity established by this Constitution. 4.4c. Law enforcement education and removal from position. All officers commissioned in their duties to provide supervisory authority in any law enforcement capacity shall be required to attend a law enforcement education course of not less than 2 years. All non-commissioned personnel shall attend a law enforcement education course of not less than 1 year. Congress shall establish the curriculum and training of this course of education. Law enforcement officers and personnel shall serve and protect the people in the enforcement of the laws established by Congress under this Constitution, and shall be prohibited from the violation of these laws or the enforcement of any other law. Any officer or law enforcement personnel who violates the law, in any way, after having been found guilty of any felony by a legally established court, shall be denied, and forever prohibited from possessing the rights of law enforcement established by this Constitution. 4.4d. Use of lethal and non-lethal weapons by law enforcement personnel. Each law enforcement personnel, as prescribed by Congress, shall be armed with 2 forms of weapons, 1 non-lethal and 1 lethal. Congress shall outline the specific guidelines for the use of non-lethal and lethal weapons to subdue a person. Each officer shall be required to wear a uniform-mounted video camera at all times while on duty. Any officer who does not record the events of that officer's interactions with any person, unless the ability to do so is inhibited, in any way, by that person, that officer's actions, or that person's, shall not be admissible as evidence against that person in a court of law. 4.4e. Armed militia. There shall be 1 Republic armed militia whose proceedings, protocols, and offices shall be established by Congress, and which, upon adoption of this Constitution, shall assimilate and incorporate into its force the current Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Coast Guard, Border Patrol, and any other military force currently established. 4.4f. Supervision of military and law enforcement. The Republic Militia and the Federal Law Enforcement Agency shall be under the direct supervision of the President, as given executive authority pursuant to Article 2, Sections 2a and b, and under the guidelines of Congress as described in Article 1, Sections 9, g, and h, of this Constitution. Section 5, Right to bear arms. 4.5a. Authorization to bear arms. No person shall have the right to bear arms, except those authorized by law, to do so under Section 4 of this article. The right to bear arms shall be strictly prohibited, except as authorized by Congress. 4.5b. Arms for sport and entertainment. The people shall have the right to bear arms for sport or entertainment exclusively under the supervision of armorers and weapon facilities as determined and established by Congress. 4.5c. Manufacture and distribution of weapons. It shall be strictly prohibited for any person or entity to manufacture or distribute any weapon or any of its ammunition of any kind, except as authorized by Congress for the sake of law enforcement, for the sake of the military, or for the sake of personal sport as authorized by Congress. 4.5d. Possession of weapons and ammunition and related punishments. The possession of any weapon or ammunition by any person in violation of this article shall be a first-degree felony offense, and punished by imprisonment for 6 months on that person's first offense, 1 year on the second offense, and then an additional 1 year of imprisonment for each new offense thereafter. A person who commits a crime with any arm, of any kind, shall be required to serve a period 50% longer than the sentence requirements of the original crime. 4.5e. Weapons importation. The importation of any weapon into the Republic without congressional approval shall be considered an act of war or treason against the people of the Republic by the person or entity that initiated or performed the act. Section 6. Right to personal information privacy. 4.6a. Right to privacy. Each person shall have the right to privacy of their personal information, except that information that is deemed necessary in the enforcement of the laws provided by this Constitution, or for the protection of the people of the Republic. 4.6b. Publication of individual personal information. Each person's individual information, of any event concerning that person in the past, of any event about that person occurring in the present, or of any event in which the person shall participate in the future, shall be protected from publication in any media source, including the internet, unless that person, of that person's free will and choice, or by court order in protection of the public interest, grants permission to the access and publication of this information. 4.6c. Database of personal information for law enforcement. Law enforcement agencies shall be restricted in the publication of a person's personal information to a database specifically designed for the protection of the people of this Republic and this Constitution. Section 7. Right of belief, expression, and the media. 4.7a. Right of belief. Congress shall establish laws that protect each person's right to act, to be acted upon, to believe, and to express opinion, where that action, belief or expression of opinion does not affect, extend upon, to, or impede another person's right to act, to be acted upon, to believe, or to express opinion. 4.7b. Right of the press, media. Congress shall make no law infringing upon the right of the press, media, to publish beliefs, opinions, expressions, or any other matter suitable to the purposes for which media exists, except those that protect personal information according to Section 6 of this article. Section 8. Right to property. 4.8a. Personal belongings. Except for those belongings specifically prohibited by this Constitution, Congress shall enact and support laws that protect a person's right to hold personal property of any kind and enjoy the benefits thereof, where that personal property does not obstruct, abuse, abate, or in any other way impede the right of another to hold personal property and enjoy the benefits thereof. 4.8b. Search and seizure. Congress shall make no law that permits the search and seizure of personal property, unless by such prohibition, the life, liberty, or personal property of another is threatened in any way, at any time. Section 9. Due process of law. 4.9a. Right to self-representation. Congress shall establish laws that guarantee each person equal due process of law, including the right to self-representation pro se. A person shall have the right to self-representation in any court of law where that representation is determined to be just, reasonable, or an application for redress or relief that is reasonably established by the petitioner for any violation of constitutional law. 4.9b. Rules of Civil and Criminal Procedure. Congress shall establish rules of civil and criminal procedure that favor and support the right to self-representation. 4.9c. Counsel for pro se litigants. Each court shall provide a legal staff of bailiffs, clerks, and officers, attorneys, to support self-representation. Each court shall establish and promote efficient rules of procedure and due process. The court shall provide a civil pro se litigant up to 2 hours of counsel prior to the hearing of the petition, and during the time allotted by the court for the hearing. The court shall provide criminal pro se litigants unlimited, reasonable counsel. 4.9d. Payment of court costs in civil matters. In any civil matter, if the court rules in favor of the respondent, the petitioner shall pay the court's costs and fees, including those fees of the court-appointed attorneys assisting the respondent, or the respondent's own attorney, and any punitive damages granted to the respondent. If the court rules in favor of the plaintiff, that person or entity shall pay its own costs and fees, but not those of the respondent, or of the court. 4.9e. Payment of court costs in criminal matters. The court shall pay all costs incurred by its proceedings in any criminal matter. 4.9f. Determination of civil matters. All civil matters shall be determined by trial by the court in which the matter is heard. 4.9g. Determination of criminal matters. All criminal matters shall be determined by a trial by jury, where the defendant, in all cases, shall be guaranteed the reasonable right and ability to participate in selecting the jury. 4.9h. Rights of the innocent until proven guilty bail guidelines. When charged with any criminal offense, and until that person has been provided the benefits of due process of law, and found guilty of the alleged crime, that person shall be assumed and treated as if that person is not guilty, which includes, but is not limited to, liberty from incarceration and the necessity of posting bail. Unless indisputable evidence has been obtained, verified, and accepted by the court against a person charged with a crime of violence against another person or another person's property, no person shall be held by bond, unless or until that person fails to appear at the court-appointed time scheduled for that person by the court or law enforcement officials. Section 10. Criminal Punishment. 4.10a. Sentencing and reformation of criminal offenses. Congress shall establish the definition of crimes and the rules for sentencing of all criminal offenses. Congress shall also establish the institutions, facilities, commissions, and personnel necessary to support the sentence and aid in the correction and reformation of the convicted. Any sentence shall be limited to restrictions on personal liberty and property only. 4.10b. Reasonable deference, rights for incarcerated persons. No person shall be subjected to maltreatment, or denied reasonable deference by any law enforcement agent, armed military personnel, or court official, nor shall any incarcerated person be denied the rights afforded by this Constitution. 4.10c. Education on specific crimes and punishments. During the first 12 years of a person's public education, Congress shall establish a curriculum that instructs the people on specific crimes and their punishments. All immigrants to the Republic shall be provided with clear and easy to understand instructions on the specific crimes and their punishments within the Republic. 4.10d. Publication of Civil and Criminal Code. Congress shall maintain a clear and easy to understand publication, deferring to the process of self-representation, of the Republic's Civil and Criminal Code on its website, and as mandated by Article I, Section 1, of this Constitution. Section 11, Right to the Pursuit of Happiness. Congress shall enact laws that protect any act in the pursuit of individual happiness, however and in whatever way that individual might define happiness, as long as the act does not diminish, obstruct, abuse, or in any other way impede another person's ability to act in the pursuit of happiness. Article 5, Voting, Campaigning, and Election Rights. Section 1, Voting Age and Restrictions. Each person who has attained the age of 21 and who resides in the Republic of America, regardless of race, country of origin, gender, economic status, religion, sexual persuasion, or criminal history shall possess the right to vote. Section 2, Undeniable Right to Vote. The right to vote is guaranteed and protected for all people who meet the law of this Constitution, without exception, and shall remain undeniable forever. Section 3, Unamendable Right to Vote. No act of any government authority, or any other power, foreign or domestic, at any time, for any reason, shall amend or affect a person's right to vote. Section 4, Registering to Vote. 5.4a. Time and age of registration. Each person of legal age, who freely elects to do so, shall register to vote every 4th year. 5.4b. Electronic voter registration and database. Upon adoption of this Constitution, each person of legal age shall initially register into a centralized republic database from which the 50 separate voting districts shall be calculated. Each person shall register electronically and shall be identified according to that person's unique genetic characteristics, that is, fingerprints, iris scan, or other genetic identification according to the most advanced technology available and provided at the time of registration. 5.4c. Voter registration and election times. Voter registration shall be held during the first quarter of every 4th year, to coincide with the elections of members of Congress, of the President, and of judges, which shall be held during the last quarter of the same year. 5.4d. Payment of voter registration and elections. As set forth in Article I, Section 5, of this Constitution, Congress shall establish the times, places, manner, and support the means and costs of voter registrations and elections. There shall be 2 days assigned for registrations at the first of every 4th year, and 2 days for elections at the end of every 4th year. The times and dates for registrations and elections shall be designated federal holidays, and called National Voter Registration Days and National Election Days, respectively. All employees of any business or corporation of any kind established throughout the Republic and its domains shall be compensated their full pay and benefits for each of these days. Section 5, Campaigning for Election and Balloting. 5.5a. Running for public office. Financial contributions prohibited. Congress shall establish laws and rules that allow all persons to register to campaign for public office, and to prohibit financial contributions of any kind towards a candidate's campaign for any office. 5.5b. Election registration numbers. Candidates shall register on a designated website and shall be assigned an election registration number, by which the candidate shall campaign and be followed and recognized throughout the campaign period for election. 5.5c. Campaign limitations. All campaigns shall be restricted to free social media venues of the campaigner's choice. 5.5d. Election ballots. Ballots shall be provided to voters that allow them to write in the urn of the person whom they have chosen for each office. Each election booth shall provide an alphabetized reference guide of all persons running for office and their corresponding district and urn. Article 6, Adoption of this Constitution, Ratification, and Amendment. 5.6a. This Constitution shall be adopted by the majority vote of the people. Whereas the current United States Constitution does not allow its own invalidation, the people, by voting during their regular and legal elections, and writing in anonymous instead of voting for any registered candidate for any office, unless such candidate campaigns in support of this Constitution, shall invalidate the Constitution of the United States, and by the voice of the majority of their votes ratify this Constitution for the Republic. of America, or, as set forth in the current Constitution of the United States, 2/3 of Congress adopts and ratifies this Constitution. 5.6 b. This Constitution shall not be amended, except by the majority vote of the people. Congress may propose an amendment, which shall then be considered and voted upon, and determined by the people at the next scheduled election. May the true God of our humanity sanction, and bless this Constitution. End of the Constitution of the United People of the Republic of America.